Reports that he doesn't like basketball. Have you ever gotten that impression out of him since you've been coaching him? That he's just not into it?
Yeah, you know what? I don't know. I've never heard that before. You know, that's something that you'd have to catch up with him and ask.
When do you expect him back?
You know, it's indefinite. I don't. I'm not trying to be funny, but everybody knows what indefinite means. You know.
Do you think he's playing his last game here for you?
He's had an indefinite suspension, and again, not trying to be funny, but you know what indefinite means.
What would need to happen for Andrew to be reinstated?
Again, I'm not trying to be funny, but he's suspended indefinitely, and we all know what that means, and so you know, we'll see.
And that's just how Michael Jordan did the same thing. Stop loving basketball and start playing baseball. That didn't work. Start loving basketball again. So who knows? You just never know.
I mean, it's just a terrible situation. You know, internally with our team, but you know, it's just something we gotta get over. I mean, coach's decision came from the management. You know, that's kind of where it stays, is with management.
Why would you say it's a terrible situation?
Oh, I mean, we need him out there. I mean, he's a dominant force for our team, and you know, it's just it's hard. You know, you lose a teammate. You know, but with this situation, it gives everybody else a chance to step up. So and that's kind of how we look at the situation. He's going to be missed, but you got to still play games. So that's what it's about.
So Andrew Bynum, done with the Cavs, it appears. He's suspended indefinitely. That news breaks right before we get to the Garden this morning.
I was already here. You should wake up earlier.
I clearly need to get out here earlier. I had a bit of a late night last night. So,
okay. Ooh,
Andrew Bynum
cool, man.
is done with this team, it appears, but Mike Brown wouldn't confirm that. KYRIE Irving wouldn't even touch it, really. Dion Waiters, though, he did talk about it, as we heard before this clip started. Now, what do you guys think? We'll start with you, Evans. What's the future for Andrew Bynum? No, screw you, Jimmy. What's the future for Andrew Bynum for this season at least?
Predict his future now.
I mean, he doesn't seem like he's that motivated to play for a team that's not successful. I mean, he wasn't willing to play in Philly at all. He comes to Cleveland, and he's clearly not motivated to be a team player here. It just seems like he doesn't love the game that much unless he's in a fortunate situation like with the Lakers where he can win championships. He only kind of sort of likes basketball, depending on who you believe. You know, anybody would enjoy playing for a team like the Lakers that's winning titles. Anybody would enjoy playing for the Clippers or Miami. But if he's not in a fortunate situation like that, he doesn't seem to care that much. He just wants to collect his money and go home.
And go bowling.
And go bowling and play video games and whatever else. But, like, yeah, he doesn't seem to be the kind of guy that's just driven every single day to play basketball. And that's fine. Not all human beings are like that.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, the prediction for the future would be, yeah, he's probably not coming back to Cleveland. I mean, why would you want to?
Well, I mean, yeah, obviously not Cleveland, but is he going to play again this year in the NBA?
I mean, it depends whether anybody else wants him. I mean, there were a lot of teams that vetted him this summer, and they had questions not just about his knees, but about his motivation. And it seems that those suspicions were correct. He's not that motivated. And, you know, unless he can wind up in a situation like the Miami Heat or the Clippers where he's happy and motivated to play, I mean, it seems unlikely he's going to do anything this season.
I think that a big part of him, if the reports are true that he doesn't really care for basketball anymore, I think a ton of it has to do with the injuries that he's had. I mean, when you go through those knee injuries and you go through the rehab and all that stuff, it's not easy, and he's obviously not. I think he's just like down and out by him. You know what I mean? Like when you go through all that rehab and then your knees are like never going to be the same. Like he's not going to be the same player that he was when everyone thought he might be a franchise type guy. I just think that, you know, especially with big guys. I mean, some of these guys, they're in the NBA because they're big, and you know, it's not like a guard that loves the game and like worked his way up to play. Like they happen to be really big players, so they're made for the NBA. You know, maybe he just doesn't have that passion or that drive that a lot of other NBA players have, and I think especially with the injuries, that just adds up. And if he doesn't really want to play anymore, then there's nothing else you can do. But I guarantee you he's on a team this year. I guarantee you, because there will be no risk if the Cavs release him. there's no risk, really. There's no money. There's not going to be much money tied. I mean, I don't think a team will sign him to a multi-year deal, but for the rest of this season, absolutely. You don't think that Heat would jump at the chance to add Bynum to their team? They absolutely would.
For the minimum, which is
Right.
at that point like $800,000,
Right.
to get a guy that could possibly give you 12 and 6 off the bench or something like that.
Right. I mean, even just to play, just to body up against Roy Hibbert, you know what I mean? If he can give him that for a few minutes a game, if it's not, if Greg Oden can't come back healthy, then they've got Bynum that hopefully can play some minutes. Now, you're not going to get, like I said, you're not going to get Andrew Bynum on the Lakers that won championships, but you'll get a guy that can post up and that can put bodies on guys.
I don't know. I don't see it. I think that if there were other teams in the league that wanted Bynum back this summer, he would have signed somewhere else besides Cleveland. I mean, the fact that he ended up with the Cavs and not a higher profile, more glamorous team shows you that those teams didn't want him. And
There were a lot of questions. I mean, yeah, there's definitely
and those
a lot of
questions are even worse now. So
Yeah.
why would anybody else take a chance on him now?
And they've
I just
always
feel like-
been questions his entire
because
career.
it's not a big
Absolutely.
it's not a big risk for the remainder of the
Well,
season.
I think it is a risk. I mean, why'd they suspend him? I think they suspended him because off the court he was a distraction. He showed up to practice and didn't want to be a team player, didn't want to help out.
Probably didn't want to practice.
I just,
Probably what happens.
Right.
Talking to-
And I don't see a team bothering with him at this point when he just doesn't seem to be adding anything in practice. He doesn't seem to be giving them anything in the games. Like, why would you bother just going through that hassle of signing him mid-season and messing up your chemistry? I think that if any team wanted him, they would have signed him back in August, and they just didn't find any reason to. And like you said, like these questions about his motivation have been lingering throughout his entire career. I mean, since like 2008 or 9, there have been rumors.
When he first had the injury starting up, people were starting.
I don't
to
even
say
think
that.
it was injury related. I think he just always didn't really he has other interests outside the game. He's even like a geek. He likes to take apart computers. Like there's other stuff he likes besides playing
There's
basketball.
no problem with that. I mean, Chris Bosh has been a good player his whole career, and he's like the face of the programming movement. for the high
Exactly, and
school
the
kids.
guy has other interests, and that's
Yeah.
totally fine. I mean, like you were saying, when you're born to be 7 feet tall, people look at you in a certain way.
Right.
And there was a great article in Sports Illustrated a couple years ago about this, about how guys who are 7 feet tall, people just look at you and they just instantly say, "Oh, you should play basketball."
Right.
And
Or do you play basketball?
yeah, when you're 7 feet tall and you're athletic and let's face it, black. I mean, people look at you like, "Oh, you should be a basketball player," and they label you as that, and you're just stuck with that, and
Right.
you have no way around it. And I think Bynum just got sick of that, and we're seeing that now. He just doesn't want to act out this expectation that everybody else has for him, and that's fine. He shouldn't be required to play basketball because
No.
of his circumstances.
I mean, you want to be like any human being wants to be happy. You know what I mean? If he's not gonna, even though he's making millions and millions of dollars,
there is that.
and he's living obviously a high,
Very opulent
yeah,
lifestyle.
very nice lifestyle.
Good word,
day.
opulent. Yeah.
But yeah, at the end of the day, you got to be happy. So
Or maybe he's just a D-bag. I mean, there's that
that could be
too.
true.
It's part of it.
That could also be true. We don't know.
All right, we'll be right back for Garden Report Part 3, where we go behind enemy lines in the Cavs locker room.